Today I'm talking to Alan Hepburn, a teacher and trustee with the Rewilding charity Scotland, The Big Picture. Hi, Mr. Hepburn.
Hi, Robert. Really nice to meet you.
Hello. Thank you for doing this.
Oh, you're really welcome.
What is rewilding?
Well, that's a tough first question because it can mean different things to different people. Originally, many years ago, it was people called it the 3 C's, which was core, connectivity, and carnivore. So it was this idea of having core landscapes and then connectivity, connecting them together. And then it was also looking at how important keystone species, keystone carnivores were. I think that's expanded, and now we also add some more C's in, like community and culture, which I think are really important as well. But to me, rewilding is really anything that reverses the substantial biodiversity loss that we're seeing at the minute. So anything that improves ecosystems, so that can be introducing more plants, more trees, protecting species and letting them flourish.
What are some of the benefits of rewilding?
Well, one of the major benefit is that we try and ensure that ecosystems function properly. So that can be to do with ensuring that all the species that are within an ecosystem are present and reintroducing some if necessary as well. So basically, it's about ecosystem functionality. I suppose on top of that, there are other benefits. There are benefits to climate. There are benefits to mental health. There's benefits to farming and food security by increasing pollinators, improving soil quality. So I believe there are a lot of benefits.
How does rewilding help fight climate change?
At one level, a lot of rewilding is to do with, well, certainly in Scotland, it's to looking at our ancient forests and trying to expand those and reconnect them. We only have about 4% of our original ancient native forest left in Scotland. So rewilding certainly in Scotland is about trying to encourage those forests to regenerate and connect them together for all the species that require them. And more trees means more carbon is captured and stored within the wood. So that benefits climate. In Scotland, and I think in North America as well, we're also trying to restore our peat land, because peat contains a lot of carbon. And if you disturb that, or if you drain the peat bogs, then that releases the carbon. So in Scotland, certainly, we're trying to restore a lot of our peat and store that carbon in the ground. Thinking about more widely, I guess, if we're thinking about more forests, we're maybe looking at trying to use more wood in our construction, for example. So wooden buildings and wooden products are much better than using concrete and plastic. We believe that certainly in Scotland that rewilding will hopefully increase the amount of wood used, and as a result, that benefits climate as well, because concrete is not the best thing for climate at all.
Why is biodiversity so important?
Okay. So biodiversity, I guess, it refers to the amount of different species in a particular area and the variety of different species in one particular area in an ecosystem. And those ecosystems function best when you've got all the species that should be there. The way that these species interact with each other, I'm sure you've kind of learned about kind of food webs where one animal eats a plant and that animal is eaten by another animal, and so on and so on. So all of these interconnections, all of these species rely on each other. So having healthy biodiversity is key to keeping all of these species in good numbers. And certainly in Scotland and many places, having key carnivores at the top of those food chains is really important as well. We've found that when we remove those, they have a bigger impact than we ever realized. So biodiversity is really key to having a healthy planet, to be honest.
I saw that you were reintroducing beavers to Scotland. They are so cute and big
Yeah.
and fast. I've seen them in Algonquin Park here in Ontario. They swam right under our canoe.
Wow.
Can you tell me about that program?
Yeah, actually, the first time I saw a beaver was in Canada, and yeah, it was an amazing experience. I remember I didn't actually realize it was there, but it did a tail slap in the beaver pond, and I was like, wow. So we in Scotland realized that beavers are so important. They're called a keystone species because the work that they do creates habitats for a lot of other species. And certainly in Scotland, our numbers of trout, the trout and the salmon have gone down over the years. And those fish would have, over many hundreds of years, would have lived with beavers until we sadly got rid of all our beavers a few hundred years ago. So we decided to reintroduce them, and their numbers are growing. We do have a few problems. Some farmers are affected by them because beavers will burrow into the river banks and flood some farmers' fields. So we're having a few difficulties at the minute in Scotland, I think. I think people like you and me realize how amazing those creatures are. And I guess I've got a job, and my charity's got a job of trying to convince as many people as possible that the benefits of beavers really outweigh the few problems that they do cause. So we are hoping to basically convince the public and councils and farmers and everybody that beavers are here to stay, and hopefully maybe one day you'll come across to Scotland and you can see a Scottish beaver.
They're pretty common in Ontario.
Yeah. Okay.
My granddad has a property with 50 acres, so I can see how he and I could do more rewilding to his land, but I live in Toronto. Are there any examples of rewilding actions that kids could do if they live in a city?
Yeah, I think that's a really, really good question. And it's a similar question that lots of people in Scotland are asking. A lot of Scottish land is owned by a very few people. They have big estates, and people like you and me want to know what can we do? We don't own a big piece of land. So we kind of we call it me wilding, or because we're Scottish, we might call it we wilding projects. And I work with schools and lots of young people mainly in cities to look at what they can do. Most people have a local green space, so it might be part of your school play area, it might be a local park, and there are lots of ways that we can improve those for species as well. Quite often they are too much concrete or too much grass, and by speaking to the people who maybe look after those spaces, like the people in charge of your school, or the people in charge of the local council or government, you can do lots of things for species, whether it's increasing the amount of like deadwood areas, encouraging people to leave the leaves around because leaves are really important for lots of species. It might be putting up, well, certainly in areas in Scotland, might be bat boxes or bird boxes. Another thing that you can do, and I think you probably are doing this, Robert, is just tell lots of adults about all the things that need to happen, because I think sometimes you guys know more than some of the adults around, and I think you're probably doing that already. It's to go and speak to as many people as you can and ask them to get involved.
Yeah. Finally, what do you wish everyone knew about rewilding?
Oh, I knew you were going to ask this question. I said to my daughter that you were going to ask, and she said, "Oh, that's a really good question." And she said, so she's 11. She said, rewilding is something for everybody can get involved in it, and it's true. There's lots of different things that we can all do, and that kind of made me think of what I thought I would say, and I would say that rewilding is about hope. I think sometimes we feel that there's nothing we can do, or there's too many bad things going on in the world, but actually I've seen amazing things happening with rewilding, from new species coming back to forests, from forests growing for red squirrels. going into new areas. So I really think rewilding gives us hope. There's lots of things that we can do to improve biodiversity and to try and reverse climate change as well. So that's what I'd go for. I'd go for rewilding as hope.
Yeah. Thanks so much for joining me today, Mr. Hepburn.
It's been a
And
pleasure.
remember, together kids can save the world.
Yeah, too right.